Welcome back to the Fit Dad Club podcast. My name is Travis Jones. I'm here with Jason Barrett, and we are helping dads become the best version of themselves. Jace, how are you today, buddy?
I'm doing good. You guys would have noticed an absence last week in the podcast. The first week I think we've missed since we started, which is a big one, mainly because I got food poisoning. So that is definitely that's the sickness that every dad who's on the shred wants. Dropped down to like 73 kilos for a couple of days there, which was nice. And then I loaded back up on Vegemite toast and got back into it. But feeling much better. I've probably, since the back injury and all the COVID and all that other bullshit, I've two out of 3 gym sessions this week, with one more to go tomorrow, which I'm very excited about finishing up. I did just a little superset of some push-ups and some pull-ups yesterday, just to kind of get the blood flowing, and mobility's feeling good, pain-free, and smashing it. What about you, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, man. Just doing my gym sessions, keeping it simple at the moment, and just get my runs in, probably 4 or 5 runs a week, hitting back up to about 70 kilometers a week now, which is good. Go to the Gold Coast Marathon in 3 weeks. I'll probably aim for the 3:30 for that one, and have the big test in the Melbourne Marathon this year, with a good prep hopefully for that. But today, mate, we are talking food tracking for dummies. Okay, when I say that, I don't mean anyone who doesn't food track isn't a dummy, or if you do, basically what we're trying to do is give you the simple cheat sheet how to, without trying to delve into the matrix of protein, fats, carbs, and just give you essentially the quick fix to how to do it and how to do it well. Because I think this is one of the guys we talk to, people will say, oh, my diet's not my problem, who aren't clients, and they go, yep, nah, eat healthy. And in reality, they're just simply overeating because they're not losing weight, because that's what it is. If you're not losing weight, you are eating more calories than you burn. So, we look at our calories and we track our food so we understand what to manage. Because, what we want to manage, we measure. And if we're measuring our food as far as doing our tracking, we can go, I know what to do to make sure that I consistently get the results that I'm after. And that's why tracking is important, because it's, one, science, because that's what weight loss is. It's science. 2, it takes out all the hope and fluff, right? If someone's helping you lose weight and they're like, oh, tracking your food, tracking calories isn't important, it is, okay? It is important, because every food you put in your mouth has calories involved in it. You burn a certain amount of calories on a daily basis. And then if you consume less calories than you burn, then you'll lose weight. If you consume more calories than you burn, then you'll gain weight. It is as simple as that. So the easiest way to lose weight is to track calories. The easiest way to lose fat is to track calories and your protein. Okay, that is the simplest form of why we do this. It gives us a bright line approach. It's black and white. We understand how to do it. And then we can look at, okay, you currently are eating 14,000 calories a week, because calories matter most over the week, and we didn't lose weight over the last 2 weeks, then we make a further deficit. So now we're going to be eating 13,000 calories a week. No matter how that looks like over the week, we'll eat 13,000 for the week, and we'll start to lose weight. That's how simple it is, guys. But it's tracking the food to understand those calories is what we're going to delve into a little bit more today. So you can understand the nuances on, well, you're telling me 13,000 calories and, say 150 grams of protein a day. What does that mean? And how do I track that? And I think that's what we're really going to look into today.
Yeah, it's such a struggle when guys come to us like, oh, they haven't tracked their food properly, or they've tracked half the days, and then they're like, oh, I'm not really progressing as much as I'd like, or I'm not moving forward. It's like looking at your bank account at the end of the week and it's in the negatives. Be like, oh, I didn't spend that much. Well, the data doesn't fucking lie. If you are not losing weight, you are indeed eating too much. Like, that's it. Or you're not moving enough. One of those 2 factors, right? Which means you are eating too much because you're eating more than your movement is compensating for. So when it comes down to this tracking side of things, it is data. It is hard numbers that gives us a really good place to know how much you need to be eating in order to lose weight. So if you are tracking your food and you're not losing weight, you're eating too much. That's as simple as it needs to be. So the more you can dial in on just being aware of what food you're eating, the better. And one of the big things that I want to share with everyone as well is as Trav was saying, it's all about like the biggest point of tracking is not about just hitting the numbers. It's about the education. It's about then knowing, all right, well, if I track a Big Mac meal with the fries and a full sugar Coke, oh, holy shit, that's actually a lot of calories. I didn't realize a double quarter pounder had, half my daily calories in it with the fucking medium fries as well. Well, what happens if I take the medium fries away? Oh, that's actually a little bit better. What if I take the Coke away? Oh, I could actually just do a double quarter pounder for lunch without all the trimmings, and I could still probably be in a calorie deficit. It's like, well, yeah, you could. And that's the kind of learning that you want to take. But too many guys just want to like, either just give me something to follow that I don't have to fucking think about it. It's like, well, start fucking thinking. Start thinking about your health. Start dedicating some brain power towards your health, your longevity, your well-being, and your fat loss if you want to get the result. Too many guys want to do the brainless approach. They want to just like, okay, did that hit the number? No. Did that hit the number? No. Okay. And then they're not paying attention to anything. They're not really giving it conscious thought so that they can educate themselves moving forward. Because unless you plan on tracking food for the rest of your life, which for some people might actually be a reasonable way for them to keep the weight off, is to consistently track. It doesn't have to be like, tracking every single thing every day, but, once a week or 2 times or 3 times a week, you're tracking your full meals. You're seeing, what does my average day look like? Oh, I'm a bit high. Rein it back in. And this is where the power of tracking comes in, is it's the education. It's now the understanding, because you can look at the fucking health star rating of a food. Oh, 4 stars, 4.5 stars. This is really good. It's a cereal. Right? It's one aspect of an entire diet. It doesn't give you a full picture. When you look back at the end of the day or the end of the week at your calorie level and your protein level and where things are at, that's going to give you a much better idea of, well, what is my diet made up of? What is my diet doing for me? And therefore, what do I need to change in order to get the results? So be willing to fucking think. Be willing to dedicate some level of effort towards your health if you want anything at all to change. Like, that's the biggest thing that I want to get out there at the start.
I think so. Like, it's funny, just sort of an analogy as you were talking, looking at health star ratings as far as when we make food choices is the equivalent of buying like purchases with discounts, right? It's a discount, so I have to buy it. Well, does it fit your budget? Okay, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant as a discount or not. And it's irrelevant of the health star rating of a food or not. Does it hit your calories? Does it hit your budget, your financial budget? If it doesn't matter if it's a discount. And if it doesn't hit your calories, it doesn't matter if it's health star rating. It's completely irrelevant. You're looking at the irrelevant data. The relevant data is, what are the calories and what is the protein, and does this hit my macros, or does this hit my calorie needs for the goals that I have in place? And this, when we're tracking our calories and we understand, food tracking is in relation to a goal. Right, and that's why we track, because it's not about becoming the healthiest version of us. It's becoming the leanest and most optimal, energized version of us. And I think that's what we're looking for as far as tracking. And for anyone out there is like, oh, I don't want to track, it's obsessive. It's definitely not obsessive. What you're trying to do is you're trying to manage something that's currently out of control. Right? If you keep gaining weight, every 6 months, every year, and you're gaining that weight, that means what happens is your food consumption is currently out of control and you're over consuming food. So when something's out of control, just like spending, I keep spending this money. What happens is we go on a budget and we start to track our food, or we start to track our money.
That's obsessive. You have a budget and you track where your money goes. That's obsessive. Although half the guys, I reckon, listening to this probably could use a budget of some description, or just some awareness of where the fuck your spending is going to. If the car's out of control, grab the wheel.
Exactly, 100%. If it's out of control, you grab the wheel. But I think the same thing with that is a lot of people are good at tracking their financial budget Monday to Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's like YOLO, right? Oh, in my budget, I'm trying to spend, I don't know, $50 a day. Let's just say that. $50 a day on food and whatever you're doing. Okay, I've got my food today. I went out and bought lunch. Then I got myself a coffee, and then I did this and whatever you're doing. And Monday to Thursday, you're really good. And then Friday comes around and you end up having 7 beers down the pub. Saturday, you go out for a big breakfast. You go out for lunch at Grill with your family. Then on the Saturday night, you get takeaway. Sunday, you do the same. And you go out 10-pin bowling or whatever you're doing with your family. You're like, oh, I didn't track Friday to Sunday. But for some reason, I'm going more broke. My credit card debt is racking up even higher. So yeah, because you tracked your budget Monday to Thursday and you're within budget. And then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you were over budget. So if you had a plan that you understand that you spend more money on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, then you probably need to spend less money Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to allow for the overspending on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This is exactly the same as our tracking of our calories. If we're only tracking Monday to Thursday and you're hitting your nutrition plan, you're hitting your calories, and all of a sudden you're not tracking your food on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're overeating, you're having beers, going out for breakfast, and you're over consuming calories, that can negate any type of forward motion that you had, and you can go backwards in your weight loss, and you can gain weight because you didn't track for 3 days of the week. You didn't track, for 45% of the week because you didn't track that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And I think that's the crucial thing. It's tracking over 7 days that makes the difference. It's tracking your budget over 7 days. It's tracking your food over 7 days. And if you do overconsume calories on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, then we need to allow for that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Decrease your calorie requirement or calorie intake on those days to allow for the higher calorie spend on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you can keep getting your results every single week with your weight loss. And that's how it works across the board, because what you measure, you get to manage, guys, and you get to choose how you manage it.
I think the biggest thing for a lot of guys when it comes to tracking is they don't know where to start with their food selection to start with. Like, they don't know, all right, well, I'm tracking my food, but I just track by default what I already have. How do I know what's good? How do I know what to change for? How do I know what has protein in it, right? And there's a big issue. First of all, if you haven't already followed the Fit Dads Club on Instagram, I do post a weekly video on meal prep and a weekly video on high protein meal prep, and then a weekly video on real dad dinners, where you see a real dad make dinner, and you get to see Imi as well, and that's why half the people tune in. So that's a place to start. But you can, Google is your friend. What are high protein options? What are high protein foods? And for most people, it's going to be focusing on lean meats, focusing on lean sources of dairy, and just starting with those. But then again, as you start to track different foods and as you start to explore different foods, you're going to track and you're going to see, oh, this has a lot of protein. Oh, this has a lot of carbs. Oh, this has a lot of fat. That education is going to start to kick in. And then you're going to start to realize, oh, I didn't realize I should have less rice. And the way that you get a higher protein, lower carb, lower fat meal. And a lot of guys are, how do I get my protein up? It's like, oh, do I need to add in protein shakes? Do I need to add in protein bars? It's like, well, you can, or you can just see how you've only added 100 grams of chicken in this meal, make that 200 grams of chicken, and then reduce the carbs and reduce the rice by a cup or half a cup. And then guess what? You've now got a higher protein meal. It's like you just eat more of the same shit that you're already eating. You just change the ratio. You change the portion size of meat to carbs. Same thing when you're having a pasta. For me, I try not to mix the pasta in with the meat sauce if I'm doing a bolognese style dish, because then it's well, can't control the ratio of carbs unless I've already portioned it out myself, and we'll get to kind of how to track this in a little bit. But unless I've portioned it out myself, I don't like to put the whole thing of pasta in with the whole thing of meat sauce. I'll give myself, all right, I'm going to have about this much pasta, and then I'm going to give myself as much meat sauce as I need to hit my protein goal. And that's it. And then that way you can control the ratio a lot better. But one of the ways, and I guess the first way we want to talk about tracking is by doing it by eye. If you're not putting it into an app, if you're not going to be using your phone or using a meal diary of some description, or you're not doing it with your coach, is by just purely by sight. And for me, the best way to do this is to have a consistent plate or bowl that you use for all of your foods, so that you can really easily gauge your portion sizes. So a good place to start for a lot of people is using your hand as a measuring tool. So a palm to, I think it was 1 to 2 palms of protein. So palm-sized portions of protein, being your lean meats in general. 1 to 2 thumbs of fat, and then it's was it a fistful of veggies, or a handful of carbs? I can't remember which one's which. They're all kind of the same.
Cupped hands of carbs and a fist of veg, but it's very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty similar sort of sizings, right? And then that way you have an idea, because, obviously the bigger of a person you are, the bigger your hands are going to be, the bigger your thumbs are going to be. It's going to scale with you as far as your size, because we've talked about this before. As you get leaner and as you get smaller, your hands and your body get smaller, so your portion size gets smaller. Or even if you do plateau a little bit, then you go, cool, well, I've been having 2 thumbs of fat, so I'm going to start having 1 thumb of fat, and you know, instead of having 2 handfuls of carbs, I'm going to have 1 handful of carbs. Now, I'm not saying you get your hand and you just dig into the rice like that, right? Like you can judge it by eye, but this gives you a bit of a structure of like how to structure your meals, and how to give yourself a bit of an idea of, all right, well, what am I consuming? What kind of ratio am I consuming? Am I consuming 5 fucking handfuls of carbs with 3 thumbs worth of fat and then this tiny little bit of protein on top? All right, well, that's a pretty good place to start. And that's what tracking gives you the idea of. Where do I start? What is the first thing that I need to do? For some people, it's just getting your fucking protein up and getting your calories down overall. But the second type of tracking, and I guess the more one that we tend to focus on a bit more, is using an app or using something that you can use to track externally.
I think was the more accurate you're tracking, the more accurate results. If we're like, you know, we can always start with a vague style of tracking to give you so you start to consciously think about your food. To be honest, that's one of the biggest things. Even if I start telling people to do a food journal with what they're eating, they start to eat better because they don't like to write down that they had 17 magnums, right? It just is what it is. You know, we tend
That's
to
impressive.
just because yeah, exactly. If we start to track our food in general, we just start to eat healthier, especially if someone else is going to look at the food. So if we're going to do it by eye, automatically you're going to start eating healthier, but that will take you so far. Right? It's like people say, hey, I lost weight eating clean, and then they've plateaued. Well, what do? Like, you can't eat cleaner. And sometimes you do need to get more accurate with our tracking, which is when we start tracking, and also more variety, I think, because it will start to limit your variety when we start to eat out or when we start to have bigger, more elaborate recipes. If we're trying to do it as far as like eyeballing our food and our calories, when we're looking at tracking as far as an app like a MyFitnessPal or, you know, Trainerize or a Keystone or something similar to that, we tend to focus on one, we have a protein target because protein helps us stay fuller for longer. It helps us build lean muscle mass and lose fat mass because you burn a higher amount of the protein calories through digestion. So there's so many big benefits because it preserves lean muscle mass also when you're in a fat loss phase. So you hold on to muscle mass and you lose primarily fat mass. So the big reason is we get to focus on hitting our protein goal, and we get to have a bit more flexibility with our foods because we can go in ahead of time. We can go, well, we're always going to, in any meal you have, we choose our protein first. So what's my protein? This is what we want to think about. What is my protein for this meal? It could be a protein powder. It could be a chicken breast. It could be some tuna. It could be eggs. Like, what is my protein for this meal? You want to track that first. And you want to get about 30 grams, if you can, of protein in every single meal. So I think if you're looking at benchmarks, track protein first and try and hit 30 grams of protein as a minimum. That's what I would go for. And then you can start to add in things around that. Well, I tracked it. I need to have, 3 eggs and 2 egg whites to hit my 30 grams of protein. What am I going to have around this, to complete my meal? Maybe then we start to have some veg. You have a handful of spinach. You track that in your app. You put in a chopped tomato, a half an onion. Maybe you have a piece of sourdough with some butter. Now we've got veg, we've got some carbohydrates, we've got some fats, and we've got our protein, and we hit our protein goal. And all of a sudden, you built it around protein first, then vegetables because it's going to be more filling because they increase fiber, increase food volume, and then we add some carbs and fats in around that as well. We just built out a breakfast. And I think once you understand that, guys, you shouldn't try and recreate the wheel every single meal. I think this is a big thing that people do wrong as well. So if you know that, hey, I enjoy this breakfast and this breakfast is 400 calories and 30 grams of protein, then you save that to your favorites or you write that down. You go, I know that this breakfast, you write it in your notes section. It depends on the app you're using. Even if you go, my breakfast ingredients are this, these are my calories, so I never have to track it again. And you could do it in a fucking Excel document if you needed to, track your calories for that if you have standard meals. But it creates it simple. We've done it once, we've executed, we've done the calories. Now we can just type in, that's what I have my breakfast. So you have 2 or 3 breakfasts that you can roll around that you never have to think about breakfast again. This is the one I eat out. This is my cold breakfast. This is my hot breakfast. Maybe this is my oats breakfast. You got 4 breakfasts. Okay, good. Honestly, there is I don't eat anything more than 4 different breakfasts. If I go out, I eat like a couple of poached eggs on a piece of toast with some avocado. If I eat at home, I'll have 3 eggs with some egg whites, some onion, tomato, and a piece of sourdough and some butter. If I have my oats, I'll have a cup of oats, a scoop of protein, some water, and a cup of blueberries. That's my breakfast. Like it might sound boring, but I enjoy all of them, and I know what the calories are for them all, and it's super simple for me to track. So it's not bland if you enjoy all your foods, and you get to enjoy all your foods if you understand how to track. I think that's a big thing. Pay attention to protein first, then add veg, then add, what's my surrounding foods in this to make it feel tasty, and then make sure you understand the numbers for that. I think that's a big thing for us to look at.
Yeah, and I think it means that you're not looking at what can't I have all the time. It's like, oh, what can't I have? What can't I have? You're just focused on, and the more you get focused on, oh, not allowed that, oh, not allowed that, and it's like, oh, I can't have that ham and cheese toasty because that's like a bad food because it's got like cheese in it and stuff, and it's got bread. Well, it's like, all right, well, is there enough ham in it to hit your protein goal? Oh, well, yeah, okay, cool. Guess what? It ticks box number 1. Now, it might not be the fucking most perfect meal, but if it's between that and like, a sausage roll or a meat pie, it might end up being a little bit better, right? And guess what? And here's a big thing for a lot of guys as well when it comes to tracking your food is like enter it in before you eat it, or track it before you eat it. A lot of guys will eat a food or they'll eat a meal and then they'll be like, oh, I should track that and I should see what the calories were. Well, guess what? Unless you're fucking bulimic, you can't uneat the calories. And I don't recommend being bulimic. Like, they're in.
It's not good for you.
Yeah, it's very not good for you. It will fuck with your stomach. Take it from me. I've gone down that route back in the day. It's not fun. From having food poisoning as well. Vomiting in general, just not fun.
No.
It's some unhealthy shit. But the biggest thing for you is to understand if you pre-track it, or even if you track it before you order your food, be like, oh, let me see what does a meat pie actually look like. I think it's like, if I think I remember correctly, it's like 400 to 500 calories for a meat pie, and it's like 20-ish grams of protein. It's not. I think it might be a bit less than that. It's like, it's not terrible, but it's not great. The problem is, you have that, then you have a nice coffee. Usually it's like a meat pie and a sausage roll. And yeah, sorry.
It's 1,000 calories for a dare ice coffee and a meat pie. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It adds up. It's all that extra shit. It's like, oh, but it's just a drink. Guess what? I could do a dare ice coffee in like 3 seconds. Those things go down so fucking easy.
Fast.
And if you're driving and you're like smashing a meat pie so much, it's like, oh, I'm burning my lips on it. First of all, you should probably just eat a bit slower. Appreciate your food a little bit. Stop fucking wolfing it down, right? That's going to be a big factor that'll help you out too. But track your food before you eat it. And then that gives you insight. And by doing that, you can then see, okay, cool, does this meet my protein requirements? Does this actually fit in with what I'm looking for? And some apps, like the Trainerize app that we use with our clients, when you're tracking a food, it gives you a percentage. And it shows you, okay, well, my goal is around 33% of my calories, or like 30 to 40% of my calories to be from protein. Like that's a good way you can look at it as well. So therefore, each of my meals need to be around 30 to 40% of my meals come from protein, or of my calories come from protein. And you can track it. You put it in, you take a look. It's like, oh, this is only like 10% protein in this meal. Okay, well, maybe I'll need, if that's what I really want, what can I then do to bump this meal up? Maybe that means I have a protein shake with it, right? And then you can start to, as Trev's saying, you can get creative, but we're focused about what you do have and what you can add in, as opposed to, oh, I can't have that, or I can't have this because it's not allowed. It's like, no, it doesn't hit your protein. Is it within your calorie budget, right? Let's say your goal is 1,800 calories. If you have 3 meals a day, that's 3 600-calorie meals. That's pretty straightforward, right? So if you have a meal that's less than 600 calories, that means another meal you can have one that's a bit more than 600 calories. Like this is the easiest way for you to do this. And it's important that you just make sure you're hitting your protein target in there. And by default, that rules out a lot of meals. It's very difficult to make pizza work unless you're doing, kind of the ones that I do, where you've got like Woolworths have a really good high protein pizza base that you could put some low fat cheese on. You could put some shredded chicken breast or rotisserie chicken from Woolies, like really loaded up. And you can have like probably about 800 to 900 calories. Like it's a big meal, but it's a pizza that has a high amount of protein that works in your diet. Like you can start to find these things and start to think about, all right, even if I just got like a little personal pizza, or Core Power Foods do a frozen individual serve pizza, which is great. I posted it up for our guys in our private community. It's an awesome pizza, and you've got those options. But there are some foods that just fucking don't work. A triple bacon cheeseburger with a Coke, yeah, not going to work. Shit ton of fries, not going to work. So by having your parameters of like, all right, I need to hit a certain amount of protein in my meal, have some veg, is an ideal way to kind of keep your fiber up, make sure your digestion slows it down so you're not just like feeling hungry 10 minutes later. Pre-tracking your meal will give you the awareness before you eat it of, is this going to fuck me up or not? right? So just have that focus on what you do get to have in terms of your protein. Like a lot of this has been focused on like eating out and stuff, but those are the meals that a lot of guys tend to have initially, unless Trav's talking about, like eggs and egg whites. Cool, you can have that at home. You can track each individual ingredient rather than trying to track, I'm going to try and type into the app poached eggs and see what comes up, or I'm going to type in butter chicken, right? Well, you don't know what the ratio of those things are. You don't know how much, this is a butter chicken meal. Okay, cool. How much rice is in it versus how much sauce versus how much chicken? Is it chicken breast? Is it chicken thigh? Those are things that you don't know. So when it comes to tracking, it's not that hard to then go, okay, cool. I'm going to type in eggs. The quantity of eggs I'm having is 3.
Yeah.
Done. I've tracked 3 eggs. Egg whites. Okay, cool. I've had 2 egg whites. Or I've had, if you get them in a carton, I've had like a quarter of a cup of egg whites because that's like the serving size. If in doubt, look on the back of the packet. It has the nutritional information there. That is what you can reference to go, what are the calories or what are the protein in this meal that I'm going to have, right? And, I don't want to be one of those guys in the shops that's like looking at all the packaging and stuff. Well, it's like, do you want to be the fat cunt who's just pouring chips into his, and cereal into his trolley? Who cares? No one's looking at anyone else in the shopping center, right? Unless your kid is having a meltdown, in which case you're probably looking like, I feel you. I've been there.
Exactly.
Parents have all been there, man. It's a nightmare. There was no free apples left at Coles, and my daughter she had a meltdown, and she was not very happy. But like that might be who you need to be. Look on the back. I'll do this constantly in the meat aisle. I'll be like, oh, this thing's on special. Let me turn around, take a look at it. Oh, holy shit, that's got a lot of fat in it. I didn't realize. Oh, it's like this chicken thighs with the skin on, but they're covered in sauce, so you didn't know that they were skin on. Oh, right, that's not a good food for me to chuck in because the ratio of protein to fat is way off, right? It's going to be a super high fat meal unless I want to have it with like some salad, and then your brain maybe starts thinking, oh, do I really want it that badly? More often than not, no. I'll just get some skinless thighs so I can have more room to play with carbs and do other things with. So it's not something that you get to immediately, but it's something that you have to start the journey of education to get any understanding at all, to ever get to the point where you can start to make better meal decisions.
I think so, mate. And I also think like when you are eating out, it's understanding like what's your go-to foods. Because then if you know, I'm out, I'm on the run, like where am I going to go? Are you going to gravitate to a Macca's? Are you going to gravitate to a Guzman Gomez? Are you going to gravitate to a Nando's or a Grilled? Because if you have the understanding of what calories are inside different foods or meals, then it's understanding like the food volume when you're going to eat out is always going to be somewhat lower for the calories. So it can be a smaller meal for a slightly higher calories when you're eating fast food, just how they're cooked generally. Okay, there is exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, if we look at, if you're out and you want to get a mustard and pickled burger from Grilled, it's about 530 calories-ish. If you get a Big Mac, that's also about 560 calories. Well, a mustard and pickled burger from Grilled is bigger than a Big Mac, especially these days. And so what's going to fill you up more? Exactly. It's not a Big Mac. So what's going to fill you up more? Well, probably the mustard and pickled from Grilled. Supremo wrap, Nando's Supremo wrap. That's also about 500 calories as well. So maybe you go past Nando, you grab that. A Guzman and Gomez burrito is 800 calories. So it's, you could nearly have 1 3/4 of a grilled burger for that. I would probably have 1 3/4 of a grilled burger. If money, Terry, it wasn't what they're looking at money side of things though, right? Because we have different budgets, a calorie budget, and then we have a financial budget. But when we're looking at it, it's like, I'm sure there's 500 calorie meals at Guzman and Gomez. I just don't eat there much. Like, would you know, Jace? Do you go there much?
Yeah, we go there a fair bit. There's like the nachos, I think end up being about 900 calories, but there's like, they've got the burrito bowls, which are pretty good. They're usually, I think somewhere between like sort of, depends on what you get, but like between sort of 600 and 800, usually because of the amount of rice. But you can, when you're ordering online, you can also customize like, I want no rice, or like the ultimate for them is a salad. You essentially have like some kind of meat, and they've got some fucking delicious like slow cooked beef brisket, which is pretty good. They've also got chicken, they've got beef mince, all of that's really good stuff. And they serve it on lettuce with, I think you get some beans, you get some salsa, and you can get like some cheese, you can get some avocado, you can do that stuff, or you can go without that. And that's like 400 calories, like 300 to 400 calories for a big salad with like, and you go double meat on that, and they they give you double meat. They give
meat.
you a fuckload of meat. So my go-to, if I am eating out, is a Guzman and Gomez salad. Like, it's not the most inspiring from like the other salad perspective, but you got salsa, which is a super low calorie condiment. You just load up on the corn and the tomato salsa, and it's got like some shitty lettuce, but I mean it's fucking lettuce. Who cares? And then you've got like this big pile of just like meat, which is like, it's super good from a protein perspective. But if you ever want to know how to track those things, either, a lot of apps will have them native, like a lot of takeaways natively in there, or you go to their website. I send my guys to the website, the Guzman, you just type in like Guzman and Gomez or Grilled or Nando's or McDonald's nutritional information, and you'll find the thing. It'll be a PDF. It'll tell you the calories. It'll tell you the protein of all the different menu items. So you can go in if you are planning on eating out, or you are planning on going out somewhere. You can go in informed and go in with a plan, as opposed to just going and be like, oh, I guess I'll try and wonder what I might have today, because default or design.
I think so. And also, mate, like when you're going, if we're trying to lose weight and we have all these prior habits that are involved with what we actually, our automatic cues when we eat out. So if we've, 20 kilos overweight, we've always eaten at Macca's, then our default is, this plus this plus this, right? I don't know what your default is, but it could be a Big Mac plus 20 nuggets and a large Coke and fries. Who knows? But if now that's our default and we aren't thinking about what we're trying to eat, then, we have to go in there with a plan, because we need to create a new design. Okay, so we don't go back to our old default. So we have to look at the menu beforehand. We have to go, I'm going to choose this, I'm going to choose that. You don't even look at the menu, because you've already made the choice. Okay, you've already committed to what you're going to do. So it's not what I feel like, it's what I've committed to before I turn up to this fast food restaurant where I used to overeat. Because remember, environment matters. All of a sudden, you've got the smell of the Subway cookies and you're 7 cookies deep and you're like, fuck, what happened? You woke up in a food coma. It's like...
the 16-year-old that was serving you had to wake you up like, sir, you need to leave. It's 10 o'clock.
Exactly. So the smells, the environment, the people, they all dictate how much food we eat. But we need to go into there with some form of prior commitment, especially in a fast food setting. So what I say, guys, is what we've been trying to get at is like prior commit and have prior thought to what you're putting in your mouth, because we're trying to design a better version of you and a healthier version of you, which takes sometimes a little bit of time. Now, when you're eating out and not going just to takeaway, it also would be looking at, like, for me, I normally just get meat and like some chips, or meat and a salad, or meat and some mashed potatoes. Like, I am super simple when we go out, because if I'm going out, like, I'll go and get a nice steak, right? And then you know how easy it is to track a steak? Because every restaurant you go to, it's like 250 gram eye fillet. Oh, that's pretty easy to track. So like it just is. And when you're looking at the chips, because you have weighed at home before, you've weighed at, like, you're getting some fries, the McCain pub fries, you know what 125 grams of those looks like, because you've weighed it out at home like 10 times before. When your chips come out, you can go, yeah, that looks like about 125 grams. Okay, I can track that. Because you have prior conscious awareness of what food volume is, you can eyeball how much grams it can be. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. But I think, the biggest thing is we want to try and go towards, whether we're going eating out or takeaway or whatever we're doing, we have prior thought around it. I think that is a big thing that we try and, we want everyone to implement. And also, I think one last thing before I pass it back to you, Jace, is just not wasting calories. It's not wasting calories on sauces, not wasting calories on full Coke. I personally wouldn't even waste my calories on a Dare iced coffee. When I think about it, it's like, man, I could have a grilled burger or a Dare iced coffee, right? I'd probably have a grilled burger. As far as, especially when you're in a deficit. And like, this is for, if you're hungry, okay, the Dare iced coffee ain't filling you up. The grilled burger, is it going to fill you up more? Yes. Does it cost more? For sure. I'm not talking about financial, like for the YouTube trolls out there, right? Yes, there's other things you can buy that are cheap and high volume. Eat some fucking carrots, right? But
a kilo of carrots will not set you back much.
No, man, it won't. And 200 grams of carrots is only 70 calories. So a whole kilo was like 350 calories for a whole kilo of carrots. Mate, eat a kilo of carrots and tell me you are still hungry. You're probably sick of fucking carrots, but you're not hungry. Your mouth is probably just so sore you can't eat anything for the rest of the day.
Orange, but that's fine.
100%. But like, if we look at it, guys, if we change from a cappuccino because a lot of people drink cappuccinos, and I call those, adult milkshakes. Sorry to all the cappuccino drinkers out there. If you're still drinking the adult milkshake, that's 150 calories every single cappuccino. Guys, it's pretty big. It's 4,500 calories a month if you're having one a day. Let's be honest, you're not having one a day. But let's just say you only had one a day. It's 4,500 calories. A black coffee, it's like 7 calories, okay? So there's a huge difference. Huge difference. Now, if we have a normal Coke as well as a cappuccino each day versus a black coffee and a Coke Zero, the normal Coke is 139 calories. So that's 4,100 calories just there, okay, in the month if you had one a day. So if we cut out the cappuccino and went to a long black because it's just useless calories, we cut out the Coke and went to a Coke Zero, useless calories. We've just cut 8,000 to 600 calories off your month. That's a kilo of weight loss. It takes a 7,700 calorie deficit to lose a kilo. So that is losing over a kilo of weight just by changing those two things that you're currently eating. So you didn't put a kilo on or you've lost a kilo. Either way, you're just by changing those two things because you're consuming calories that essentially don't mean anything. So stop drinking your calories that aren't going to fill you up. I think that's a big thing. And also, just get the sauces on the side. I don't care how much you want the full fat mayo on your foot-long sub. Like, just don't do it. No, it's not going to get you going any further with your results.
Yeah, it just comes back to like, not every meal has to be the most delicious, fucking full flavor tasting meal in the world. Sometimes the meals are going to be a little bit bland. Like, that's okay. And then this comes back to the bigger thing of if you are deriving all of your enjoyment from your food, then you've got to look at having a better fucking quality life. Either that or learn to cook. There are ways you can incorporate sauces that aren't too bad, but it's like learn to cook better so then you can have your enjoyment from your food, and you probably get the enjoyment of actually cooking something and doing something, pat on the back. I completed something, I followed a recipe, I got a meal, it tasted good. But reevaluate your life if all of your joy or all of your everything you're looking forward to comes down to your food, because you've got some that requires a bigger mindset and a bigger priority shift. Look forward to seeing your kids, look forward to seeing your wife, look forward to doing things with them on the weekend instead of, I can't wait because fucking Thursday night's KFC night or Friday night's palmy night. Like, if that's the shit you look forward to in your life, I'm sorry, but you've got to get some fucking bigger, you got to look up from the ground. You got to start seeing a little bit of a bigger picture. And it's like, I'm not saying you can't enjoy those things when they do happen, but if that's like the sole source of your enjoyment, we've got some fucking problems. We
got to make more things to be excited about. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like if that's the week, the excitement for your week, it's like, no, like, get excited about going for a run with your kids because you can run with them. Right? Get excited about like playing, sport with your kids. Get excited about now the holiday next summer because you don't feel so self-conscious because you're losing weight and you're going to feel confident for once in the last decade that you actually will go down the beach with your kids and have fun with them rather than sitting with a moo-moo on under the umbrella watching them play because you can't play. I honestly, I think if people are healthier, they get more excited about things because they can actually do more things. And I think that is one of the biggest problems. Like our goal for health is, yes, to lose weight, but the reason why we want to lose weight is because we want to be more active with our family. If we aren't, it's just because the weight's just a number. Like, why do you want to lose it? Because you want to have a better quality of life. And if you have a better quality of life, you get to do more things and you get excited about more things.
Yeah, like this weekend, what I'm excited about for this weekend is we're going to a place in Perth called Little Land, which is like a place where they've got like little kitchens and little offices and basically little versions of like adult shit where the kids can run around and be like, oh look, I'm like Dad, I'm at work, I'm on the computer, like that kind of stuff. And Imi's gonna have I don't know why they like cleaning and doing shit in the kitchen, and apparently they haven't realized that it sucks yet because there's no stakes for them. But they'll love that. And then on Sunday we're going to a little place near us called Banjup Local, which has like animals and stuff like that. We go there usually and grab like a coffee, and we're going to go there and catch up and just like watch her run around in the field and play in the sand pit and just be herself. And that's what we look for. Like, we really look forward to just like seeing her, especially at this age where she's like 19, 20 months now. She just loves to run around and play and have fun, and just seeing her just explore things is that's a lot of joy for us. But you got to take the joy out of the little things. It might not be, we've got a big trip planned, all right, we're going to Thailand next year, or like, it doesn't have to be these big things. It's like finding the joy in the small stuff that you do, in the ability to go for like a walk with them and like, oh, look at that tree, or look at the bird, or Imi loves trucks. She loves like trucks, and she loves garbage trucks and all that kind of stuff. So she loves it. Bin man, got to follow the bin man down the road. Like, find the joy in those little things. But if we pivot back to tracking and why we're tracking for a little bit, one of the key things I get from a lot of my guys is, but how do I track my the homemade meals, or the meals where everything's mixed together? I can't just go, that's a steak and that's chips, and it's like, I have no idea. Or there's guys who will have be backgrounds from like India or Asian food, where they'll be like, I can't just track this, very specific food. Like, I can't track a fucking pad CU or whatever, because it doesn't come up, like that exact food doesn't come up in the app when I type pad CU. I'm like, well, that's a fucking lazy way of tracking. It's very, very simple. If you have the barest idea or want to have the barest interest in your meals. And that's number one, is take a fucking interest in the kitchen. Take an interest in the kitchen, go to your wife or whoever's cooking for you, because clearly, if you're at this point, you're not cooking for yourself because you're like, I don't know what's in the meal. So I'm ruling out the fact that you've cooked it, unless you've just blindfolded yourself in the fridge and just thrown shit together. Go up and say, hey, what are we having tonight? Oh, what's in? Do you mind if I either number one, offer to help out? There you go. You'll get a bit of a better understanding of what's in the meal. Or you just ask and say, what have you got in this? Right. And then just follow it up with a compliment. Oh my God, it's lovely. But then you get a better understanding. Most people will be able to look and see, okay, what is this meal? Let's say, for example, it's a lasagna. All right, you could go through and you could track each individual ingredient, but if you typed in the word lasagna, you'd probably get a pretty default version, unless you're making like my high protein version, which is on our Instagram. We're using extra lean beef mince, using some high protein cottage cheese, and using low fat cheese and that kind of stuff. That is a way of doing it where you can track each individual ingredient, add it all together into one meal, and then you divide it by the servings. That's the way that you do any of those meals. So you go, cool, if this bolognese that I'm making, I don't know how much of everything I'm having. Well, if you have 500 grams of pasta, which is a whole packet, like a whole thing of spaghetti, 500 grams of lean mince, right? Extra lean mince, 5% fat mince. The difference between getting the 20% fat mince and the 5% fat mince is double the calories.
It's big. It's big.
It's literally goes from like 130 calories to 250 calories per serve, purely based off fat. And the reason why, if you guys want to understand this, is every gram of dietary fat is absorbable and utilizable as energy for the body. So every gram of fat is absorbable and utilizable, and it comes out as 1 gram. It weighs 1 gram. Whereas for you to get 1 gram of protein, you'll often have to have 5 grams of chicken, right? It's usually about like a 4 or 5 to 1 ratio of like cooked meat. So 100 grams of chicken will give you about 20 to 25 grams of protein. But that's a bigger volume, right? Because it's got water and it's got a bunch of other stuff, whereas fat is just fat. So the higher fat something is, the higher calorie it's going to be, and the more calorie dense it's going to be, because every gram is going to get you not only 9 calories instead of 4 calories, it's also every single gram is going to go fucking right in and be utilizable. Whereas there's some stuff in carbs, some stuff in protein that's not 100%, it's not going to be utilized, like the water and all the other shit, and like the fiber and the other stuff that might be in your carbs, like that stuff's not going to be utilized and turned into energy. So you get bigger bulk and bigger volume. So when you're choosing the 20% or the fattiest mince that you've got access to, and it's like, but it's all the stuff comes out of it. It's like, well, yeah, you're not cooking off every single bit of fat. Like, you're not rendering out every single gram of fat. Like, it's still going to be higher fat than the other mince, and it's twice the calories. So if you know that, you can then go, all right, instead of tracking like a generic bolognese, I know I had, there's 500 grams of spaghetti, right? There's 500 grams of lean beef mince, and then I've thrown in like a jar of dolmio sauce and a couple of veggies. Like, that's your easy go-to way of just doing anything. You grab a meat, you grab a jar sauce, and you grab a carb. You throw these things together. There you go. That's your fucking cheat sheet for a meal. Easy. Do it with a pasta, do it with a stir fry, with rice, do it with noodles. Like, it's all, that is like a basic way. If you're just learning how to cook, use jar sauces, follow their instructions, and they're usually pretty fucking decent. Just up
to be honest, they are, mate, and they're pretty easy. Yeah. Like chop some veg, throw it in a slow cooker, and a lot of the time it just comes out pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Throw some fucking potatoes in there. Throw some meat. It'll cook. It'll put the sauce in there. Same thing with the stir fry. It's like, all right, cook the chicken. Yeah. Put the veggies in, put the sauce in, put the chicken in again, cook it, serve it with some rice. There you go. Fucking delicious, right? And then the sauce kind of contributes a certain amount of calories. Yeah, it's fine, right? But all you do is you just account for it. And you go, all right, so I've thrown in the sauce, I've thrown in this much chicken or this much bolognese meat, I've thrown in this much pasta. what I like to do is I just eyeball it. I'm like, cool, how many serves did this make? Did this make 5 serves? Did it make 4 serves? If it made 4 serves, then I had one of those serves, I had a quarter of the whole meal. What does that mean? That means I had a quarter of 500 grams of lean mince, which is 125 grams. It means I had a quarter of 500 grams of pasta. Shock horror, 125 grams. It means I had a quarter of a 400 gram jar of dolmio. You know, I know my measurements because I fucking tracked this shit before. 100 grams. All right, there we go. Now I know my meal was 125 grams of beef mince, 125 grams of spaghetti, and 100 grams of some jar pasta sauce. That was the calories and the foods within my meal. Rather than me just tracking spaghetti and seeing what fucking comes up, or bolognese and seeing what comes up, I now know exactly what I had, like plus or minus, because let's be honest, if you're within 10, 20% of your tracking, that's probably as near as any of us are going to get, unless you're meticulously weighing every single thing. And when you're doing like a full family meal like that, sometimes it's just unrealistic. But that is honestly near enough is good enough. That is like as accurate as you would need to be. Because guess what? If you ended up eating all 4, let's say you did this as a meal prep, you ate all 4 of those meals, it doesn't matter if one of them was, this one was 150 grams of mince and this one was only 100 grams of mince, you still ate that 500 grams of mince over 4 meals. So whether it's spread in 150 and 100 or 270, doesn't fucking matter, because you still had the same amount of calories over those days. It does not matter. Same thing for any other meal. If you're, pad see ew, or fucking this particular curry from the southern eastern region of India that no one else has heard of or knows about. Okay, cool. Let me guess. It's got some fucking lentils in it. It's got some fucking chickpeas in it, potentially, right? It's probably going to have some onion. You might have some meat or something in it as well. Like, all right, not that hard. All right, what is the sauce? Coconut milk in the sauce. Okay, cool. You can track the coconut milk. That's your source of fat for that meal. All right, what do you serve it with? A fucking naan or a bit of rice? Okay, cool. All of those ingredients are trackable. You don't have to try and say, this is the entire meal and the different things. It's like, what are the main calorie-laden things in your meal? Try to get clear on those. Cool. How much, oil or ghee or butter are you using? Using coconut milk in the sauce. Yeah. Are you using onions? Are you using, the spices and shit don't really matter. They're not going to add any fucking calories. But like, all right, it was cool. It's mainly a chickpea-based curry, so let's track some like lentils or chickpeas or whatever is involved in it. Okay, cool. Roughly, we used 2 cans of chickpeas and I had a quarter. Okay, cool. So you had like half a can of chickpeas. There you go. Done. Like you can track those things rather than trying to track the whole meal as one big thing. Be like, it's fucking hard to do. Just look at the ingredients. Just have like some awareness of what you're putting in your body and bring some intention to it. Like that's the big message I want to get away from this whole podcast. Just start to bring some intention to what you're eating.
Yeah. I think so, guys. Like I think we've given a good understanding of how to sort of look at your plate, how to eat out, what to choose when you're eating out, like as far as a takeaway or eating out, bringing thought around foods and like just having conscious thought around it first, how to track and how to easily track, whether it be portions or in an app, weighing your food and why it's important. I think, if you've hopefully you've taken some good stuff away from this podcast, because it is the Tracking for Dummies podcast that you should be listening to get a really good base understanding of how to track. If you want more in-depth understanding, shoot us a message on IG, on YouTube or anything like that. And if you want to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. If you want to lose the next 10, 20, 30, 100 kilos, right? Like whatever it is, how much weight you got to lose to get to the best version of you, go to fit-dad.club, book in a call with us, and we can have that conversation of what the journey would look like for you, how many calories you do need to eat, what your movement would look like, what your current constraints are, and how to overcome that, because everyone's plan is an individualized plan to help you get to your version of success. So that's fit-dad.club. Now, that is the end of today's podcast. If you want to rate it, review it, you want to, tell us anything, go to the Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go to YouTube and give us a comment there. If you want a podcast on anything in particular as far as topics, please let us know as well. Jace, if you've got any parting words?
No, I think that's it. I think just get out there and start bringing some intention to what you're doing, and then you'll start getting better results. And if there's anything we can do to help you, just let us know.
And that's it for us today, guys, and we'll talk to you next Monday. That's it for the Fit Dads podcast.
Peace out.